Hi, and welcome to the Empowering Growth Project. We are here today and super excited to share our vision of what we want to do and a little bit about ourselves and how we look to impact this world. So my name is Lisa Cisniewski. Everybody asks how you say that. So it's like his new ski with a C in front of it. At least that's what my horse trainer used to tell the announcers as I walked in the ring. So that was the way that she just like put it all together. And I was like, you know what, that actually works really well. So apparently it means the pusher, the driver, or the motivating force. Apparently, that's what I've been told by a bunch of rugby players at the bar of one of my first dates with my significant other. And at that time, they were chanting my name, being like, Chesnevsky, Chesnevsky. And so they tell him it's the pusher, the driver, and the motivating force, right? So the next time I'm being a pain in the ass, he turns around and goes, you go, Chesnevsky. And oh, that didn't work well for me. So, you know, that's how it works sometimes. It's fun how life is that way. So I'm going to pass this over to my co-hosts and amazing people that I'm super excited and super honored to be on this show with, and cannot wait to introduce them to you as well. So who wants to take the stage next?
I feel like John wants to go next.
All right. Hi. Is it because where I am on your screen? Hi, my name is John Rodarty. And I just got into this because I've always been into Tony Robbins, and it hit a time in my life where I wanted to do something different, and I wanted to try to make some money. But actually that kind of flipped too. So I'm just happy to be here. I'm just enjoying interviewing people and being with this great group, and see wonderful things happening here. Just really excited.
Yes, awesome. All right, who wants to go next? I think maybe let's hear.
I can go.
All right.
I'm Alex Karakas. I'm 27 years old. I'm a digital marketer from Alberta, Canada. And well, I don't know if we were going to touch on this later, but I'll just say how we all met. So we all met through a community of business owners, entrepreneurs, through a group called Mastermind. And really, like I said, it's business owners and entrepreneurs, but really I think that more than that, we're a family, because that's really how it feels. And we're all just trying to put a little bit more goodness back into the world. So that's kind of how we met. And we invite you to follow us along on this journey. You'll hear more about each of our stories and what we're doing within this community. So yeah, welcome, and so excited to have you here.
Awesome.
Good job.
All right, well, I guess I'm next. So yeah, my name is Bear Bangs. Yes, that is really my name. My parents gave it to me and everything. It's not something I came up with when I was 18 and decided to liberate myself or anything. It's actually my real name. I am not 27 years old. I am, yeah, we'll just leave it there. But I currently live in Utah in the United States, but that's going to change soon because I kind of have that nomadic thing about me. And so I jumped in to the personal development world when I was, well, even before I was 17. We'll talk more about that in another episode, but really it's about belief. What I've noticed over the last little while, few years even, is that people are struggling to find that belief and that confidence in themselves and who they are. And so I decided, you know what, it's now my mission to help people find it again and restore that belief and that confidence in themselves. And so I love it. It's just so much fun.
I love this. And I definitely am echoing that same sentiment, right? About really, we have so much more ability and so much more power or control than we realize as humans to actually have that joy and be free and be empowered and really just have amazing, you know, experiences in life. And I think that it's that shift in the perspective and really being able to like share the heart of what all of us are about, and that is like the empowerment and really giving people the perspective, the ability, the like encouragement, and that exact self-esteem, right? That you can go ahead and do and be authentic. And I just love echoing that same sentiment. So I know that's why we are all definitely here together. And yes, I agree with Alex on how it's so much like a family. It really is. It's been a very amazing experience. My interest, like my entrance into personal development was actually reading Brendon Burchard's book, The Motivation Manifesto. And that was back in 2016. And I was in a pretty low point in life. It was pretty rough. And I was sitting in the middle of Tennessee. I'm really from California. So I was sitting in Tennessee, and I was trying to get a company organized off the ground. I was restructuring some tech side of things. And I had chaos going on. And I read this book. This guy shows up actually on Facebook, and he goes, so if you pay for shipping, I'll send you my free book. And I was like, I don't buy things, right? I'm like, I'm not the buyer. And I was like, all right, I'll try this. So I get this book, I read the book changed my freaking life. And I'm just like, yes, this is the stuff. Yes, I got to get this in my life. And yeah, after that, I just kept going. You know, it's about the empowerment side. It's like one little step. I had change of perspective. Like, okay, was it simple? No, it wasn't simple, but it's that step of like next piece. All right, get a little bit more. So then I'd been really interested in all of Brendon's stuff, and I was selling horses and doing stuff. And next thing you know, my significant other, he's like, I'm trying to figure out what to do. And he's like, you know, you really, you should do what your mom did. And I was like, huh. My mom was a trauma therapist and a counselor. And I was like, he's like, well, you already do it. Like, you already talk to everybody and do this. Like, you should just do that. He's like, but you don't need to go to school like she did. You should do what Brendon does. So I was planning on doing, becoming a high performance coach through Brendon's program, right? So then all of a sudden COVID happens. I had been in like Wellington, Florida with a bunch of sales horses. And my plan was to take the money and then like sell those horses, take the money and go. And well, COVID happens. So then next thing you know, I'm sitting in Ocala, Florida, where I still am. And I was like, what am I going to do? Next thing you know, this guy named Tony Robbins, he jumps up on my Facebook page and he's like, hey, so I'm doing this challenge and you really should listen to this. So I get in that and I listen to that. I'm like, yes, this is exactly what this is it. So I was in. So that's my entrance into this world. The vision for everything that I work on today would have been birthed through that. There's a lot more to the story, but that's really how I showed up here, how I became part of the whole mastermind community, and how I met these amazing people here. I love it. All right, well, this is our first version. We're going to kick this off with some fun questions. We can give we've got a little bit of a history about kind of how we got here. And we're going to kick it off with some questions, like what we've come up with to ask each other, just to kind of like open the icebreaker, like open the story a little bit. So who wants to start with asking the question? Anybody want to start?
Go ahead.
Me?
Yeah.
All right. My first question is, what is the biggest lesson you've learned so far in life?
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah.
Do you mind if I go first on this one?
Go ahead.
You know, I was 15 years old, and I'm just going to abridge the story because the whole story is pretty long. But there was a day I got home from school and my dad was watching Oprah on television. And my dad never watched Oprah. Like, he was the blue collar as blue collar can be. And so the idea of daytime talk shows it was not my dad's thing. But Oprah had a guest on, and I said something about this guest. They'd had just a tragic life. And all of a sudden my dad looked at me and he told me, he said, up until this point, you've had a pretty crappy go of things. And he didn't say crappy because, like I said, he was a blue collar guy, but I'll keep it the clean version. But he told me, he said, here's the thing though. In 20 years, you can be on Oprah because of your crappy childhood or in spite of it. The choice is yours. And in that moment, here I am at 15 years old, I'm a sophomore in high school, 10th grade. And my dad literally just gave me the power that we are responsible for the choices that we make. We might not be responsible for the things that happen to us, but we're responsible for the choices that we make moving forward, regardless of what's happened in our past or what happens to us in the future. That power of choice was far and away the biggest lesson I ever learned 30 plus years ago.
That's so beautiful, right? Like, that's so amazing. I like, that was such a blessing to be imparted, like such an amazing lesson to learn. And at that age, I think that's so awesome. You know, I think that there was that would sets people, I think it's that perspective, right? It's like when you can share that type of perspective with somebody and they actually like get it, then you're like, that's a game changer. That solves so many of the issues along the way. It's like, oh wait, I have agency, I have choice, and it's up to what oh, like this is another game, right? Like not the world happening to me, oh me, woe is me, like all these things. It's like, no, it's like life happens. And so it's your choice how you end up. And just like, oh, interesting. You know, I think that's, wow, what an amazing, yeah, that's an amazing lesson. That's awesome. Love that answer. All right. Which one of you guys wants to go next?
I can go next. So I think probably the biggest lesson I've learned is really just persistence. This is something that I started learning through Mastermind with Dean Graziosi last year. And I have it up on my wall above my desk. It says, "I will persist until I succeed." And just so many instances and examples throughout my life of where I could have stopped. And sometimes just that one extra day, that one extra push just made it happen. I remember when I was growing up, my mom always used to tell me this story that when I was little, I was very strong-willed as a child. And so she took me to the doctor once just for like a monthly checkup sort of thing, or I don't know, like a checkup. And the doctor was like, "Oh, you know, how is she doing? How's everything going?" And she was like, "You know, like she's good, but she's really stubborn." And the doctor was like, how about let's redefine that as she's persistent, and further in life, that's gonna really get her ahead and, you know, give her an advantage. And so my mom like always told me that story after, and to this day, I think like that has probably been the single thing that's given me an edge, is just like that persistence to succeed, even when it's like, there's really no reason why I should still keep going in this. And then all of a sudden something just clicks and it happens and you're like, there you go.
Yeah, totally true, right? I mean, so many times. If it's just that one extra little step, it's like, wow, how many people give up so quickly, right? They just go, oh well, they said no. Like I'll just, and they've had this like dream, yet they don't keep going, right? And there's so many reasons why somebody's gonna think that way. Like there's so many things that trigger that. So to have that persistence, and that's part of like being part of the family that we are, it's that everybody is sitting there helping you along, like not sitting, but they're like marching alongside you, I should say. You know, they're really encouraging you to keep going. And once you get a little bit momentum, you're like, oh, all right, I got some, right? And it is a little, let's be honest, starting your own thing, starting your own business, it's a little rough in the beginning. Sometimes you're like, so like, is this really a good idea? And then if you have actually like a lot of people around you that are not in the entrepreneuring space, they're like, what on earth are you trying to do? Like, are you insane? Why don't you just get a job? I'm like, oh,
Yeah,
what?
yeah.
No, it's hard. It's hard when you're really struggling with this to get that going. But once you get that momentum, right? And so it's that persistence too that gets you to where you can even get momentum, because like it takes so much energy for like the rocket ship to like get off the ground, right? So it's like in doing that, you've got to like get the energy. So I love that, like persistence. I would say that's amazing. I love that. All right, John, let's hear it.
Now mine, it was, I read Tony Robbins' Unlimited Power, and I think it was like in 89. Yeah, when I was like 5. And then And so then, because I was going through a divorce at the time, and so that changed, that I could change my thinking. And so, but I was a little stubborn because I always kind of wanted to like not just give up and not give in and just change my thinking. And so it's probably been recently that I've really kind of submitted to that whole idea, that you're responsible for your life, to make everything in your life a blessing. And I'm all like, don't like that, but I guess so. And I wish I would have grabbed that when I was in my 20s, and I, being older, that I bought into the JOB and the pension and all the easy, and so I kind of took that route. And then now I'm like, oh, I got nothing to lose. So now it's do and die, I say. Anyway, but so and I am persistent too. I've always been as a little kid, but I always kind of kept it down. But for certain things, people really know me, I'm pretty persistent. And but yeah, so now, like I said, now's the time to be authentic and just do it. And Alex, it's great that you're at your age, or anyone who's younger, to do your dream and be authentic. Yeah, it's awesome.
I totally agree with that. I think that's why I was saying, like, Barry, how that's like such a blessing to have that lesson so early on.
Yeah.
Because yeah, I feel like I spent good 20 years of my life kind of under this like oppression, almost, in a way. It was like more of and even though as an entrepreneur and doing all those things, there still was just this like mindset, and it was just from more of a like taking things that had happened so personally and as like failures, right? Rather than like, those were events.
Mm-hmm.
Or not a failure. They don't define you. Those things, in like, there's a different way of looking, but it's from having the different perspective. So I think that knowing that you have so much agency, right, is like super important in that journey. And that's where, like, sometimes you might hear it and get it. Like for me, I think I struggled with that as well, right? It was like, well, but all these things happen, and like, and so it was that little bit of, it took that same unlocking that for me to be like, actually, no, you have like way more power than you think. So
yeah, those are your greatest strengths, those things that happen to you. Those are what built your deepest character. Yesterday when I was interviewing my friend, she said, oh, we look at you, you're like a healer, and healers don't have easy lives. I'm all, oh, thanks. And she's all, no. And she's all, no, because healers, they've gone through a bunch of stuff, and they've experienced a lot of different pains and everything else, and that's why they can be healers. And they have empathy, and they can understand other people, and they know what it's like, and they've turned it, they've turned it around, and it's a blessing, but it's not fun. But there it is wonderful to see the value and the beauty in other people and draw it out of them, that especially when they don't see it, and you see their talent and their ability, and you're able to draw it out and heal. And then when you heal them, you're healing you too. It's a beautiful thing.
I completely agree. It really is.
Yeah, I agree. I think I have yet to meet or see like one actually like successful person that has impact, and I'm talking like not just like Ferraris and Lamborghinis in the driveway, but actually impacts people like on a soul level, that has had an easy life. Like I just don't know of any. And I think like it's that going through those things is what gives you that empathy and that ability to connect with people on that soul level. So yeah, fully agree.
Well, and we're starting to see that more and more. It's as people start to share their story,
right?
And we see it a lot, especially lately in the last few years. It's gone away from that Ferrari and Lamborghini lifestyle. That early on in social media, it was like, hey, let me show you my Lambo, and it's like, oh, you mean the one that you rented from the guy for $450 for the day, and you're taking a picture in front of the house that has a foreclosed sign in the yard. that you're taking that picture in front of the house pretending it's yours. Okay, that one. But now we're starting to see this true authentic self coming out in story.
Mhm.
But it's not just the story of, oh, this thing happened to me. It's the story of, hey, this is how I overcame that
Yes.
thing that happened to me.
Exactly.
Mhm.
And that's what I love so much in this new age, if you will. I've been saying for months, in social media, authenticity is the new currency.
And
Mhm.
And it's, yeah, it's so true, that because we've all been through the stuff, right? And knowing that is so powerful, because it's not just going through the stuff, it's having gone through the stuff
Right.
and being able to teach and have that impact on others and say, this is how I went through the stuff, this might help you.
Yes, yes, totally.
Right.
And
It's-
that's the personal development side, right? That's like
Yeah.
bringing that whole side of like growth and learning, like taking what is happened in your life and understanding that there's like both the positive and the negative, but if you understand it and learn it, and then you can get emotional regulation, all of a sudden, like it's a game-changing world. Like world is a whole nother place, right?
Mhm.
And yeah, it's super important because so many people are struggling these days with whether that or being on the social media too much because they're actually being trained to like be judgmental.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
the sad part about that, like as you're training yourself through the socials and you're like training your brain to judge, problem becomes you're judging yourself more.
Uh-huh.
So now all of a sudden you're not like you're not angry at yourself and you get frustrated at yourself, and that's because you've been training your brain to judge. It's like, whew, tough, right? Tough. And
Yeah.
that's of course where everybody is these days. Like a lot of people are on socials, like across all the places. I mean, we're all on socials. Like,
Mhm.
you know,
Yeah.
Right.
it happens. So yeah.
Well, yeah, and that life of comparison that lives in socials. And one of the biggest things that I try and put out to people is that comparison piece, because we as humans, it becomes natural. We don't come out of the womb this way, but it becomes natural. We train ourselves to convince ourselves that it's natural. But we sit there and we start a new project, and we're on day one of this project. And then we look at like Tony Robbins, who's been doing this for 45 years. And you're like, how come I don't have his following? And then we quit, right? And
Yeah.
it's like, well, wait a second, wait till you've been doing it 45 years, then judge where you are. Or, Dean, who's been doing it for 25, or Brendan's been doing it, really at his level for the last 15. Okay, that's awesome that they've been doing that. But when we compare our day one to their year 15 or 25 or 45, let's be realistic. Let's look at having that conversation with Brendan. And I love Brendan's story about the first time he tried to do video with his flip camera, not
Yes.
flip phone, but the
Yeah.
flip camera.
Right.
And I love how he talks about that, where he did like, 1,000 takes just trying to introduce himself. And I'm like, okay, yeah, my day one, I haven't had to do 1,000 takes. So look at that. I'm already ahead of Brendan Burchard. Like,
Right. There you go.
but that's the thing, is we sit there and we judge day one versus year whatever. No, let's be real, and let's be realistic, and let's be real with ourselves. And I think that's okay.
Mhm.
Totally. I totally agree.
Totally
Yeah.
agree. And also, I would say that keeping in mind that social media is also a highlight reel. Like people don't tend to show the worst parts of their life on social media. I think like it's getting, like you said, Bear, there's more of a trend now for authenticity and vulnerability on social media, but it still very much is a highlight reel. And so if you can remember that, that takes the pressure off as well, because that person that just had the worst day of their life, they're probably not sharing that, but they're sharing like that wedding that they attended last month, so if you only look at the highlight of people's lives, then of course you're going to feel like, oh, why isn't my life like that? It's because like their life isn't even like that.
No.
Yeah.
So
I love sharing my blooper reels. I did that a couple weeks ago. I was in my new studio, and I was just doing some sound tests. I wanted to
remember
get rid
that.
of some echo and stuff like that. And my wife was like, hey, why don't you just do like a video to me, just to test sound. And I started to say, hey there, Tabry. And it just came out as, hey day, Taby. And then I was just like, Taby, 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 Taby. And like, I literally just did that for like 15 or 20 seconds. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to post it. I don't care. It doesn't have to be this perfect video every time that I want to put out. No, let's do a blooper reel today. And so I did it. And it was so much fun. And because why can't we poke fun at ourselves?
Oh yeah.
I love being able to. Today, I'm walking through the grocery store. It was super windy where I live today. I'm walking through the grocery store and I started to do this with my hair because my hair was just blowing all over. This bald dude, no kidding, goes, you need a haircut. Like just stranger out of the blue because I'm messing with my hair. He's like, you need a haircut. And I'm like, oh, we're going to play that game? Okay, let's play that game. And I said, why? Because your transplant didn't take root? And I'm like, you know what? If you're bringing it, buddy, I'm going to bring it right back. And that's all there is to it. And I'm like, but those are the blooper reels why can't we share those? I say we do. Just have fun with it and share life because that is real life.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
And then also so much of what we do is digital these days, right? Like, I mean,
Mhm.
Barry, you know that because you do a lot of digital work, right? So
Yeah.
there's this like digital world that we're in. So it's that like connection too, right? It's
Mhm.
that like actual vulnerability of real life, like what actually happens when you're like standing next to somebody, not like just what happens on the socials, right? So it's
Yeah.
it's sharing life, really
Mhm.
sharing life. So.
Mhm.
All right, well, so that brings me to what my biggest lesson in life has been so far. And it really is the power of the ability for one to change. One really does. It's that understanding that one really does have the power, and it's that agency that you're talking about. It's really the wow, we have so much more control over what we have in our future, how we react to what things are going on in our life, and even our history, even what like has happened to us. We still have so much control today to really come to like terms with that and to then co-create as you're moving forward, right? Rather than like the world is kind of like dumping all this crap on top of you. Like, no, Tony Robbins talked about like life is happening for you, not to you, right? And when you do shift that mindset, all of a sudden it's like, oh wait, there's a lot more I can do here. Okay, all right, I'll do it. So then you have like it gives you that much more empowerment, right? That much more esteem, that much more agency that allows you to like do the things. And next thing you know, you turn around, you're like, okay, my life is like completely different. Like my days are completely different and like in an amazing way. I don't mean like in a it's so awesome, right? To be in like joy and to be in fulfillment and to be helping and adding value to this world. I mean, Tony Robbins' Business Mastery for me was a game changer, right? In that 5 days, like I learned more practical knowledge in that 5 days than I did in two separate colleges, so 5 years of college, right? Because it was just so mind-boggling, the tactics and how like it was just a slight 2 millimeter shift, right? Of like perception, like you're adding value to the world. It's not widgets. Like, and my other growing up, I had business school, and my other example was selling horses. So those are my examples of like what sales were before Business Mastery, right? So it's like it's that perception change. Like we don't realize how much power we have. So it takes it back to like what my major lesson is like, wow, we have so much ability. And that is why, for me, like my why is empowerment, because it's really about like giving other people the skills and the ability to do the same, right? For them to be able to like unlock, as we're saying. So it's amazing. All right. So that's my question. Who wants to go next and ask me questions? John, do you want to ask?
Ask question. Okay. My question was, just go around. Okay. Lisa, like what lights you up? What brings you the greatest joy?
Ooh, what lights me up the most is being creative, spending my time being creative, and horses.
And horses?
Being around horses. I have the two that I have, they just crack me up, and just that's one place where I love the animals, I love the horses, everything about it. So yeah.
Nice. Alex?
I would say what really lights me up is like helping people see their potential that they maybe didn't see, both personally as well as in their business. Just helping people see like what they haven't seen. Again, like I am able to do that because of what I do through my business in someone's business. Like so often as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, because you're so close to it. And I think even if you're not in business, but it's when it's you, it's like you're so close to it. It's so personal to you that you sometimes can't see what's right in front of you. And so sometimes it takes that third party, like that other person who comes in and is like, like interesting, but what if we looked at it this way? And just, so it's like those 2mm shifts and just gives you like that different perspective that just can change everything for you. So I love being able to do that with people and just like helping them see like a different perspective that they maybe hadn't thought of before.
Nice.
You know, Alex, I want to jump on that if I could real quick, John. Alex, I love that because so I live at the foot of like 9,000 foot mountains right where I am. And I was driving by one. I was about a mile away from one of them here 2 or 3 months ago. And I was driving by and I'm looking at it. I'm like, man, that'd be so easy to climb. But then when you get to the foot, like the actual foot of that mountain, or even a couple hundred yards up that mountain, you look at it and you're like, oh my gosh, this is so daunting, right? But just being that third party, like you're talking about, where you're the person who's looking at their mountain from a mile away, and you're like, oh yeah, you can just take this route right here. But yeah, they're so close in on that project that they're only looking at the trail, the steep trail in front of them. They're not looking back at the entire mountain saying, oh yeah, I could just go around it this way. And so yeah, I love that. That's awesome.
Totally agree. All right, well, Barry, I think you have to answer his question.
Yeah, I guess I get to answer the question. So, you know, I think there's two things that light me up. One is really that opportunity for those light bulb moments for the people that I work with. When they have those aha moments, like I crave so many of those. If I'm on a Zoom with a client, for instance, and I'm watching them and we're having this conversation, and then all of a sudden they just have one of those huge moments where like you can literally watch the shift in their entire being because of that one thing that you were talking about. That is such fuel for so much of what I do. And the other thing that lights me up is being able to travel, but also being able to spend the little bit of time that I get to spend with my little granddudes. I call them my granddudes. I have 2 grandsons. They're my little granddudes. And yeah, oh my gosh. But being able to be that example for my granddudes, that when as they're growing, you know, they're 3 and almost 2, but as they're growing, they can be like, oh, Papa Bear does this. Yes, I'm Papa Bear. It's a thing. But yeah, but that's what lights me up too, is being that example for my granddudes, that they can see that, you know, here's this old guy, we'll just say old guy, who's living this dream life. And I want to be able to show that off to them too, so that it show them the possibilities.
I love that. I love that. See, I love that. It's so cool when things are driven by the heart, right? When you're like, because everything that we're talking about is the things that we really like have passion for, and that's how we add value also to the world, right? So it's like the more you follow those passions, the more you find your purpose, right? The more you go like, oh yeah, and it's that little listening. I know a few of us were on a call the other day, and they were talking about your vision and just keeping that in perspective. And so yeah, it's amazing. I love it. So all right, John, are you going to answer your
Yeah, for me, it's just connecting and teaching and sharing my heart and being vulnerable. Putting out videos on subjects that are true and dear to me, and just being authentic and encouraging other people to be themselves and not hide and try to be working for perfectionism, and just put it out there, just do it. That really lights me up. These being with all you guys and all the support that I've gotten from all of you. And just the interactions and the connections and connecting and everything else. It's just that really lights me up.
I love it. I love it. All right. Who else is gonna ask the question?
I think
wanna
Alex
ask
is
my
next,
question
yeah.
next. Okay. All
He's got a
right.
tablet, I bet, yeah.
So what do you want to be remembered for?
Oh, geez.
You know, I'll go first on that. I want to be remembered to being the guy that didn't have any regrets. I think that a lot of times we live in this world of I wish I would have's. I kind of going back to my granddudes. I have always said I never want to be sitting with my granddudes in my older age and have one of my grandkids come up to me and say, "Hey, Papa Bear, you know, I want to go do this. Yeah, I want to go skydiving," just as an example. I want to be able to say, "You know what? I did that, and I'm glad I did. I'm glad that I did." I don't want to say, "Oh, you know, I had a chance to do that one time and I didn't do it, but yeah, maybe you should go do it." I want to be able to say, "I'm glad I did." And so that's what I want to be remembered for, is the guy who was glad that he did rather than being the guy who wished he would have.
That's good. I like
Yeah.
that. That's really good. All right, John, do you want to go next? What do you think?
I want to be remembered for my heart and for my family. And that I want to be remembered that I did something, that I wasn't just a dreamer. And that's part of the whole thing that got me started on this, because I've always wanted to do something. And I always told like the kids, you should get a YouTube channel, you should do this, you should do that, right? And then, you know, I don't want to like, you know, I don't want them to remember me as like, oh, dad always was a dreamer. He always had ideas. He always wanted to do stuff. I want to actually do it and have that, you know, the satisfaction of knowing that I went all out and I did it.
Yeah.
I love that. John, I think you do that really well, by the way. I think
Thank
like you've been such a huge inspiration and like support to me in that, like your phrase that you always say, like be an action hero. And like you were one of the people that first pushed me out of my comfort zone to
That
do
makes
the
me so
things.
happy, because that's what I wanted to do with people
Yeah, like to
out
take
there.
action on the uncomfortable things, you know, when I like wanted to start my YouTube channel and I was just like, there was that resistance because of course anything new, there's always going to be a certain level of resistance in the beginning or friction to start. And
Right.
you were that person that really like pushed me through that. And I'm so thankful that you did.
Oh, thank you. See just that one thing right there. I did my purpose. One person, one at a time. That's all.
That's it.
So, Alex,
Totally. All right. So I want to be remembered for being authentically, like an authentic friend, just being authentic to me and being authentic friend, and a world-class horseman. So that is being a horse is my passion. It's definitely something I always aspire to just keep getting better at as well. So those are what I'd like to be remembered for sure.
well, you got the friend part down. I haven't seen you. I'm sure you're a wonderful horseman too, but I don't know. I don't really know much about it. So, but I'm sure you're great.
I've definitely spent a few hours doing it, just a few. Alex, what do you want to be remembered for?
All right. Well, I guess it's my turn to answer my own question now. So, there is like a couple things, but I would say one of the biggest lessons that I've learned from Brendan is he has this phrase that says, letting your family and friends see you chase your dreams or go after your dreams is a gift.
Mhm.
And I think that's really like probably the number one thing I want to be remembered for is just like being that person that went for my dreams, so that the people that, you know, there are people that watch you, even though you like, even though you don't realize, you know, people that are watching you looking to you, people that you inspire without even realizing, and just be that person that inspired someone to go for their dreams. I think like so often when we are that person that chases our dreams, we give other people permission to do it for themselves. So yeah, I think that's really what I want to be remembered for.
I love it. I love it. All right, so Bear, I think that means you have to ask the final.
All right, so I'm gonna get a little unorthodox with my question here. I spent some time working as a facilitator on a challenge course. A lot of people call them ropes courses, that kind of thing. But as a facilitator, a lot of things that we did a lot of team building for companies and different organizations, stuff like that. But one of my favorite games when it came to icebreaker types of things is called Two Truths and a Lie. And so what you have to come up with is 3 things about yourself. 2 of them have to be true, and 1 of them has to be a lie. And it's up to the rest of us to try and figure out which one is the lie. So it might take a little time to think about what your 2 truths and your lie are. If you've played this before, you probably already have them set for yourself. If you haven't played it before, it's super fun. But yeah, just random things about your life. Like I said, 2 truths and 1 lie. And let's get to know you a little bit better. And we'll also be able to check your ability to see if you can mask which one is which, because that's always the fun part too, because a lot of times it's about body language and different things. So who wants to go first? 2 truths and a lie.
John, go first, because I can't think of them yet.
John can't think of anything.
Okay, Bear,
Okay,
Bear,
so
you go
if you want,
person.
if you want, why don't I start just to
Yeah.
give
Yeah.
you an example of what it looks like. So my 3 things about myself: I have been to all 50 states. I almost got into a fight with Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, like The Rock. And I was a dog sled musher in the past.
Oh, wow.
So which one of those 3 things is a lie?
I'm going to
Dog
say the
sled
Dwayne
musher.
Johnson thing.
What's that, John?
I'm going to say the Rock thing.
Okay.
I feel like that's true. I don't know why. I feel like Bear would be the person to have a crazy story like that. I feel like the lie is the dog sled one.
Musher.
Okay. Okay, Lisa?
The dog sled for sure.
The dog sled for sure? Okay. No, I've actually only been to 47 states. I haven't been to 50.
Wow.
And so, yeah.
Okay,
So, yeah, I
now we need to
still have 3
need to hear the story
Yeah, we got to hear the Rock story.
you
So
walked
we'll
into
we'll
this.
save the Rock story for another time.
Okay.
Oh, that's not right.
Yeah, but yeah, I did in fact almost get into a fight with the Rock. So yeah.
That's
Wow.
funny.
So there's your example of what 2 truths and a lie. It can be super simple things. Like I said, it doesn't have to be this grandiose thing, but it can be just little fun things about yourself.
Okay.
That's interesting.
Thinking.
We have a timer here. Like, how long can we
Yeah,
have?
yeah. How long are we
Actually,
gonna do this
what?
for?
Why don't I tell the Rock story?
Yes,
While you guys are coming up with your 3 things.
Yeah, tell the Rock.
So April 4th, 1998, I was stationed in the Army in England at the time. And a couple buddies of mine from work and I decided to go to then it was called the WWF. Now it's called WWE.
Oh, yeah.
But April 4th of 1998, they had an event over in England called Mayhem in Manchester.
Mhm.
And so we went to the arena there in Manchester for this WWE event or WWF event. And The Rock, it was fairly early in his career. He wasn't really The Rock just yet. but he was in a tag team match with a guy named D'Lo Brown, and they were a tag team against Owen Hart and Ken Shamrock. Super fun match. Anyway, match went on. The Rock and D'Lo actually lost the match, but Shamrock and Owen Hart went back into the back, and our seats were right on the aisle, like as they're walking from the locker room up to the ring and then back, to the locker room. So as the Rock and D'Lo are walking back to the locker room, I was, along the fence there, and the Rock was the Intercontinental Champion at the time. So he had the belt, on his shoulder as he was walking back to the locker room. And I'm like, Rock, you suck, Rock. And I think that he was kind of shocked to hear an American voice because, they'd been over there for about a week at the time. And so all of a sudden he hears this American voice and he's like, wait a second. So he stops, and the Rock used to do what he called the people's eyebrow, where he would,
I remember that.
yeah, where he'd raise one eyebrow as, just when he was interested or whatever. So he stops, he looks at me, he gives me the people's eyebrow. And he's like, he kind of looks at me and he points to the belt and he's like, you want this belt? And I was like, that's my belt, Rock. You don't deserve that belt. That's my belt. I'll take it from you right now. And so I'm playing because it's fun, right? And we're just having a good time. And he's like, well, come and get it. And so I put one foot up on the fence because there's, this barricade between us. I put one foot on the barricade, and like 12 security guards, it's just like right there, like all of them right there. And so he gives his little laugh that he used to do, and then he starts walking back to the locker room. And so after that match, there was an intermission, and a security guard came and sat down right next to us on the other side of the barricade. So they stationed a security guard next to us because we were just rabble rousers or something. And I'm like, dude, what are you doing here? And he's like, well, they came over the radio and they think maybe you guys have had a little bit too much to drink. I had a sip of my dad's beer when I was 7 years old. That's the only alcohol that I've ever had. And I was like, dude, we're not drunk. We're just here having a good time. And he's like, so the security guard was laughing. And so we had a great time with the security guard the rest of the time. But yeah, so that's my story of almost getting into a fight with the Rock. So yeah, super fun.
All right.
Love it.
Uh,
All right, I'll go next. Okay.
All right.
So 3 truths and a lie.
Just 2 truths and a lie.
Oh, 2 truths. Sorry, 2
Yeah.
truths and a lie. Yeah. Okay. Okay. I speak Russian. I'm a boxer, and I used to live in London.
Freaking hell's bells. I don't know which
That's
one is.
really hard.
That one's hard.
So is Karekas your maiden name or is that your married name?
That's my maiden name.
Okay. So I'm gonna say the boxer is the lie.
Yeah, I am too.
Because you're probably more of a Taekwondo
Haven't
MMA
lived in London.
boxer, but
No, she did.
Haven't lived in London.
Yeah, she did.
Okay, so none of you got it right. I do not speak Russian.
I was gonna say that's 3 languages. That's pretty damn good.
Although I have always wanted to learn Russian. I don't know why. That's like the one language I would probably learn. But yeah, I have been a boxer since I was 17 years old. So about 10 years now, I've been
Awesome.
boxing just for fun. And I did live in London for a year.
Yeah,
Sweet.
I knew that.
Yeah, I figured it was gonna be some kind of, I do some Brazilian jiu-jitsu or something like that, not boxing. So yeah,
Good.
that's
She's one of
okay.
those Gracie girls.
Nice.
Who's next?
Let me see.
John, go. John, go.
John gets to go.
Yes, I gotta think of my lie. Come on.
All right. Let me see. So I met Jerry Garcia, and my first car was a Porsche, and I have a Lambo.
You might have to explain to Alex who Jerry Garcia is.
I was gonna say.
Was. Jerry
I
Garcia
have no
was.
idea.
Yeah.
Isn't that a Ben and Jerry's ice cream?
No, that's Cherry Garcia, but yeah.
The Grateful
Probably
Dead.
way before my
Grateful
time.
Dead. they're a
Dead.
Yeah, he was
band.
the lead singer of the Grateful Dead.
Yeah, and they call their followers deadheads, and people were like really into following them everywhere in buses and stuff. It's crazy. It's a whole lifestyle.
I
That's
feel
amazing.
like I have a t-shirt by that band. No
You
idea.
probably
who
do.
it is. Never heard one of their songs.
Does it look like a skeleton kind of, and it's tie-dye?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, do you have one with a big tongue too? It says Rolling Stones.
Yeah, probably somewhere in my closet.
Oh my
Uh,
God, that's amazing.
so what was your second one, John? Jerry Garcia. What was the second one?
My first car was a Porsche,
That's right.
and then I have a Lambo.
So I'm actually going to say the Porsche is the lie
Okay.
because you live in the Bay. Did you grow up in the Bay Area?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm
Because you
gonna
can't
say-
have grown up in the Bay Area and not have met Jerry Garcia. So there's that.
I'm gonna say the Lambo.
Okay.
I feel like the Jerry Garcia one.
Okay. No, actually, I met Jerry Garcia on an airplane. I was on it. I did the 2-week, well, it was 9 days with Tony, and it was on the Big Island of Hawaii, and I was flying home, and I was all jazzed up from getting, coming back from that, and I'm in first class, and I fell asleep during the movie, so I asked the guy behind me, "Hey, what happened?" And he's like explaining it to me and stuff, and then it was Jerry Garcia, and I didn't even know, and then I figured it out. The flight, somebody told me, I think it was the lady he was with, or somehow something. I'm all, oh hey, and well, you look really good because he had been ill at one time,
Mhm.
and then yeah, so. But I did meet him, and my first car was a Porsche, so I kind of
I figured the Lambo. Yeah, I figured the Lambo was like you had a model of a Lambo, and so
yeah,
you consider that
it's a
having a Lambo.
Matchbox car.
Yeah.
Well, it's in my Hot Wheel collection.
Yeah, there you go.
From the original Hot Wheels.
Oh my God, I had so many Hot Wheels. I was such a tomboy like that. I
Those
had
things are worth money.
of all the Hot Wheels.
Oh,
I should have used that as my lie. No, my good thing. All right, so what? So I got to do 2 truths and a lie.
yeah,
Yeah.
2 truths and a lie.
All right. It's kind of against my nature. So come up with a lie. That's hard. All right. All right. Let's see. All right, I know. All right. So I have traveled around the world by myself with a backpack. I have been involved in a holdup in a bank robbery. And I've also been a personal therapist to massage therapist to the actor Jason Bateman.
I'm gonna say.
I feel like the lie is the bank robbery one.
Yeah, that's what I go for.
Maybe.
I'm going to go with the lie is actually the backpacking.
No, I'm gonna do.
I know you've been around the world, but I don't know about the backpacking part. So
Okay, so the truth is that the lie is the bank robbery. My
Okay.
sister was in the bank robbery, but I was not. I had to come up with something. I was like, what is a good one?
Oh, your sister was in the bank robbery?
Yeah, my
That's a
sister
good
was in a
one.
holdup. It's like she was a teller at the bank.
oh
Oh,
my
wow.
gosh.
Oh my
Isn't that
God.
crazy? I know.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Wow.
Um,
That's a really
Yeah.
good one, actually. Because as soon as I said that was the lie, I was like, actually, that seems weirdly specific. Like maybe that did happen.
Yeah.
That's why I had to come up with something I could visualize. I was like, wait, I gotta come up with something I can see because I'm so visual, right? So it's like, otherwise you would be like, definitely it's not. I mean, definitely that would be.
Right.
No, I did. I backpacked by myself for 6 months around the Southern Hemisphere. With
Oh,
a
that's
search
awesome.
party, and I actually left the day before September 11th.
Mm.
Oh wow.
So I had gone from San Diego to Los Angeles, flew out of Los Angeles to Costa Rica, go out that night. Then next day, Twin Towers, all the things. And the first email I get is my dad being like, "Get your ass back here!" And I was like, "No,
Why?
no,
It's dangerous.
Oh.
why? That makes no sense, right?"
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was a great trip. So I have that nomadic thing like crazy. So you know, prior to the COVID thing, I'd spent like 4 years actually traveling around with a truck and a camper all over the country. And there's been
Wow.
multiple trips of me like just taking off for months at a time. So, you know, it happens. All right, so that is our first session. Like, are we pretty happy in wrapping this up? I feel like I love
it's
to
fun.
know like a little bit more about everybody. And we're super excited about just sharing this journey with everybody. And if anybody else has any parting words, I would love to hear them.
Well, yeah, I think this is something that we're really excited to be starting. It's a project that the four of us are working on together. And did we ever mention the name? I don't know if we did.
Yeah, she did.
Yeah,
Very
Lisa
good.
introduced the
Okay.
Empowering Growth Project. Yeah, yep.
Empowering Growth Project, and it's literally going to be exactly what the name says. So we're just hoping to empower growth through conversations and collaboration, and just bring on different guests. Sometimes it will be just the four of us doing kind of like a roundtable sort of discussion on different topics that we're all passionate about, relating to wellness, personal development, growth, and sometimes we'll be bringing on special guests. So yeah.
Right, and it doesn't have to be perfect, because tonight we just decided to throw it together and get our first one under our belt, other than instead of just waiting another week and trying to figure out what we're going to talk about and be perfect. Now we have one under our belt, and the next one will be better, and it'll be our second one instead of our first one a week later.
Love it.
Yeah, and you know, on that vein, I think it's important to remember whatever it is that you're wanting to do and whatever it is that you're wanting to work on,
Right.
just start.
Just start.
And it will, you'll figure it out as you go. But the more you sit with it in your head and
Right.
not out in the world, the longer it's going to be before it actually gets out there. And so don't live with those regrets. Don't wish you would have. Just start.
No, if it's your book or it's your course or it's your whatever, just start. And then just connect, so that when you do have it finished, you've built a little network of support and people that will be there for you, instead of you come out of your closet and you're like, I don't have any connections. I didn't make any friends. The whole joy of this whole journey has been the friends that we've all made together.
Yeah,
So
for sure.
don't miss out on that.
For sure. And I would also finish that up with keeping an idea of the future, a better future, like envisioning that better future and just really looking at that daily, right? To really tap into what your dreams, what your desires are, what your heart wants, and really like tap into that and look at that daily and make that become part of who you are, like who you're stepping into. And yeah, just super amazing. Well, super stoked to have this first session wrapping up. Love you guys.